Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back at you with part 2 of questions to ask Celtic fans. Hope you enjoy it, especially Celtic fans or fans of football, and in particular Scottish football generally. Even if Rangers fans stumble across this video and they want to add their 2 cents, I welcome it. I just hope people won't be too rude in the comments either way. I hope people will keep it friendly and amicable, but free speech, as they say. But yeah, I just had a shower and I mentioned that because a lot of time when you have a shower, I think if I get tired or stressed, there's either going for a walk or having a shower. I think are two things that help me to refocus and think through my ideas without getting too stressed with ideas overload. When I have too many ideas on my mind, I get procrastinating, or whatever you want to call it. So I wonder what you think about that. And do you find that going for a walk and stroke or having a shower helps you to think and focus and whatnot? But yeah, please share this with any fans of Scottish football, especially Celtic fans. Even Rangers fans will welcome any fans of Scottish football who want to talk about the state of Scottish football or anything else. But yeah, I just hope I remember some of the ideas I thought about when I was in the shower thoughts, as they say. And I just went to make a cup of tea, a big pot of tea. But anyway, here goes. So I'll say this continuing on from part 1, where I covered ideas from number 1 to 10. So these are from number 11 to 20. So I hope you enjoy. So number 11. Is there anything that you think Celtic should change or just generally improve upon? I suppose improvement requires change. And I know I said about Scottish football fans generally. I wonder what general Scottish football fans think about, like Hibs or Aberdeen or any other football fans think about, or anyone who watched the new Old Firm game or the derby game between Celtic and Rangers. Like, how do you think the game went? Do you think it was a fair score? Do you think the referee got the right call when he called for a foul? I didn't really see it properly, so I can't really say. I missed the game. As far as I'm aware, the offside decision was way offside, but I wonder whether you think the score was a fair score, or do you think Celtic should have won by even more? I think Rangers fans are complaining about the decision. I think some of them might even be complaining about the offside decision, but certainly many are complaining about the decision for the foul, which even Celtic fans say was soft, but many say that's the rules of the game nowadays. So it's worked in Rangers' favour sometimes, and this time it worked in our favour. But obviously, the olden days, the good old days, some might call it, or the bad old days, depending on how you look at it, you could tackle them. Another question could be just for football fans generally. I know this is more geared towards Celtic fans, but what do you think about rule changes generally? What do you dislike or like about modern football? Do you think there's been any improvements, or do you think everything's gone downhill, or whatnot? I'd love to know what you think. Some people might prefer the modern game, but I think a lot of people don't prefer it because there's too much money involved, it's corruption, or that you can't tackle anyone or whatever. Obviously, it's not so good for Italian football because Italian football they tackle a lot. Obviously, if you saw part 1, obviously my other videos, you'll know why I mentioned Italian football. Anyway, sorry, I did cover this point in quite a lot of detail. When I went to have my shower, I thought these ideas quite quickly, and I thought that I'd cover them in quick succession. But yeah, I'd love to know people's thoughts on the game generally. Number 12, on that note, what do you think Celtic does well and therefore should continue doing? I suppose is the opposite to number 11. But yeah, also, as I say, on the note, on the subject of the game, I'd love to hear from fans of rival teams, or even those who might not even like either Celtic or Rangers, as my friend calls them, the ugly sisters of Scottish football. Maybe I should share this video with him and ask him what he thought of the game if he got to watch it, but he might not have watched it. But people who watched the Celtic Rangers game, I wonder what you felt about any decisions, or whether you think Celtic should have won by even more, for instance. I forgot to say, Kyogo seemed to be pushed by the goalkeeper, in which case we could have got a penalty, and the goalkeeper could have been sent off. So I suppose Rangers fans complaining, but it could have. There's probably decisions in the game where Celtic didn't get them, and last season they said Connor Goldson had almost volleyballed the ball out. I mean, I can understand why he would do that because it was going towards his face, I think, but it's still to the rules of the game. So many penalties have been given like that. It seems like they would have been given against Celtic, but that's a conspiracy theorist in me. But yeah, I'd love to know what people think about refereeing in Scottish football, or Scottish football generally as well. Again, I know this is more geared towards Celtic fans, but I hope for Hibs, Aberdeen and other such fans to chime in, even if they disagree with me, or even if they don't like Celtic, even if they hate Celtic. But I hope that, I'll say, the comments will be fairly amicable, even if they like banter. I can take a bit of banter as long as it's not like physical threats or anything like that. even if it is disagreeing, even if it is calling me or other stupid. I think I'll take it on the chin. But I hope most of the comments will be at least fairly positive when you're talking about Scottish football. That's hard to see. But number 13, what do you think are some negatives about Celtic or even Scottish football generally? Here's where some of the haters can come in, maybe even fans of the EPL, the English Premier League fans could talk about what they think about Scottish football being rubbish or whatever, and also like people who hate Celtic, if you want to chime in, if you must. But yeah, some of the things that you think are negative about the club as well. Perhaps I normally include that for number 13. Also to what do you think are some things that, what do you think are some problems Celtic still have, let's say, because until the just before the Rangers game, Celtic fans were like complaining and saying, and I was one who was very nervous, as always am going into derby games anyway, but Celtic and Rangers and all that, but although with the town football, I love all the town teams equally, so that's different. But a lot were complaining about Celtic and Brendan Rodgers and wondering whether he's the right man for the job. So one derby game, which was won by a narrow victory. Again, I didn't see the game. Some might say we dominated them, but a narrow victory, where the decision could have gone against us. Like that goal could have stood, for instance. The referee might have missed the offside somehow, or things like that. So there were a little. I mean, I know I'm only thinking of 2 incidents, and again, I didn't watch the game, but are there things that Celtic still need to work on and improve upon? Like, for instance, having stronger squad depth. So if we get lots of injured players, the club can do well, can still do well without our main players, perhaps, or at least not do too badly. But and also, like for some Celtic fans, they would like to see us do well in Europe, but I think that's a fat chance of that happening. But you never know. Stranger things might have happened. Maybe Brendan Rodgers can do well in Europe and prove everyone wrong. But I think that game is just, maybe that could have cracked the cracks, as they say, and made us think we're better than we are just because of one very narrow victory, really. Although maybe we missed a few chances. But again, that might be another thing, like being more clinical. Like Yogo, I think, is really good for movement, but is he clinical in terms of always hitting the target pretty much and things like that? I wonder what fans think, and some might think that he is, but I'd love to know. As I'm asking the questions, trying not to answer too many of them myself. Number 14, what do you think the club could do to solve problems of its own and also solve problems around the world? Number 15, what are your goals for the club as a fan? I suppose this is specifically for Celtic fans, really. But what are your goals for? I mean, maybe other football fans could chime in about what would your goals be for your specific club, or even if you're not a Celtic fan, but you might have a soft spot for Celtic or like something about Celtic. It'd be interesting to hear from you, or what you think your club could learn from Celtic, or vice versa, or whatever. But what would be your goals be as a Celtic fan? Like for me, at the start of the season, I thought winning another treble would be really important. Would be my goal for the season, and anything in Europe would be a bonus. So unfortunately, we're already out of the cup because we lost to Kilmarnock, which shows that we're not quite as strong as maybe that victory over Rangers showed us. Maybe Kilmarnock had 2 good results, so they beat Rangers in the league and they beat us. Obviously, I'm glad they beat Rangers in the league. But are there things? No offence to Kilmarnock, of course, but on paper, Celtic should beat teams that are expected to beat most of the teams in Scotland. Most of the time, or all the teams most of the time, even. But yeah, what would be your goals? Like some fans talk about wanting to do well in Europe. I think like for this season, winning the double now, because obviously we can't win the treble. But I mean, if we did win in Europe, I'd be really amazed and pleased. I'd just be very shocked if we could win anything, especially at Champions League level. Even I, as much of a dreamer I am, can't imagine that, but or even think about that. But I'd love for Celtic to win in the future, but like maybe in the next 5-10 years, I'd love us to win trophies like a Conference League, or even a Europa League, or even a Champions League, or even a Super Cup, or even the big one, as I would see it, the World Club Cup, which I think should be the biggest competition in club team football. I think it should be the equivalent of the World Cup, or what that is for national teams. So I think the prize money, if FIFA could afford it, should be 1 or even 2 billion for winning the World Club Cup. If FIFA had that money, and it would be great for marketing as well. But I suppose that would mean also that any team outside of Europe, if they could ever win that competition, they would be able to have more funds to compete with European teams. Although I would love to see Italian teams normally win that, but I have a bit of a dilemma. I would love to see Celtic win that one day, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, if the world's still around in that time. Who knows the future? But yeah, I'd love to see Celtic win all of those things. Like next season, maybe we could challenge and hopefully win a Conference League, and the season after a Europa League, and maybe the season after that a UEFA Super Cup, and then a Champions League, and then a World Club Cup. That'd be pretty amazing if we could win that sort of thing. But yeah, within the next 10 years, I'd be really happy with that. But I'd love to hear from other fans, of course, about what you would love to see Celtic achieve. Number 16, if you have any other ideas on Celtic and what it can do to improve, or it can connect with the fans, or anything else you want to say, as ever, please post any comments you can think of. Number 17, again, I would love to see Celtic win those trophies, but I'd love to hear, as I say, from other fans, like how far do you think Celtic could go, how far you would like them to go in your wildest dreams. If you're really dreaming, if you allowed yourself to dream, what would you love to see Celtic win? Like, if maybe like thinking about player manager, like or FIFA or whatever. If you're playing those and you took over Celtic, what would you like to see them win? Winning the Champions League with Celtic or stuff like that. But yeah, what would you, if you're really dreaming, or if wealthy Arabs or whoever, Arabians or whoever came in to invest in the club, what would you love to see the club achieve? Champions Leagues, World Club Cups, all that kind of thing. I'd love to read from your imagination, or even if you make response videos, hopefully polite ones. I'd love to read. Maybe we could make like a Celtic tag where Celtic fans talk about like what you dream for the club. And I'd love for Celtic fans to support each other's channels, subscribe to each other and stuff like that. Sorry for the plug. Number 18, what do you think are some positive things about Celtic? Again, once again, like even other fans, even rival fans, maybe even people who don't particularly support Celtic, or maybe even people who like Celtic as a second team, I suppose it'd be more applicable for, or those who have a slight soft spot for Celtic. Like, what sort of things do you think are positive about Celtic, like the charitable work it does, foundation, all that money it raises for charity? That's on the top of my head, that's the only one I can think of. But also the fans, do you think that fans are always in good spirits and singing and stuff like that, or things like that? I'd just love to read any positive things you think about the club. Like, it was founded as a charity, for instance, and things like the charitable work they do even today, and I hope they continue to do more of it. Number 19, do you think the club could support and should support, as I do, but I'd love to know, again, read from you or hear from you, Indigenous, African and Sugar Australasian people in software development, including men and women and also young people? Do you think the club should support such a thing, and do you think the club is able to, and how do you think they could do so, if so? Also, number 20, also in STEM, generally science, tech, engineering and maths, I would love to see Celtic do more to fundraise for Indigenous, Africans and Australasians to have access to IT training or STEM training generally, like donating science equipment, science books, textbooks, stationery. I know I like to keep stationery myself normally. Educational materials, basically, especially in science, tech, engineering and maths, which are the main core subjects for the future economy, or even helping Africans with like designing apps, AI, Africa in AI and apps and things like that, designing those sorts of things. Do you think the club should support such, and how do you think they could go about doing so? I know the club a lot of fans might say the club only has limited resources, and if it does a lot of charitable work locally and nationally, it's very hard to do so much overseas. But I'd love to see if the club could do such and just support communities around the world, even Indigenous people from the Americas as well, like in different areas as well, maybe in the STEM, in their case as well, like black people around the world in STEM, different projects like that, or even Irish people as well, due to the club's Irish connections, or even former colonies generally. Anyway, as ever, please don't hold back your comments and your feedback. Obviously, this specific video is asking the question, so asking questions even. So I'd really love to read from and listen to, respectively, my fellow Celtic fans, and hopefully some of you will consider subscribing and supporting my channel. And I hope to return the favour as well. If you let me know of any Celtic fan channels, whatever, I'll try and support their work, their content. Also, on that note, I hope that people will consider subscribing to the Celtic official YouTube channel if you haven't already done so, and supporting like Celtic content, Celtic vlogs, blogs, websites, the official club's website and YouTube and things like that. Anyway, I'm out. Peace and love.